Hello there, and welcome to Grounded Health and Wellness. My name is Kate, and today I wanted to talk to you about why I follow a seasonal diet. I was first introduced to this concept when I started studying Ayurveda because, again, like everything in Ayurveda, it follows the rhythms of nature. So, it would only make sense that a local seasonal diet would be the right kind of choice as far as what I put on my plate if I was following that paradigm. So, depending on where you live, this is going to look different because we get different seasons in particular areas of the world, and we get also more sunlight, less sunlight. All of those things take a role as far as when we're talking about seasonal. So, it's really important to think local seasonal diet because we're talking about the area that is local and seasonal to you. Actually, funny, before I even got into this world of Ayurveda and circadian wellness. My very best friend, who we went to university together and were roommates, she actually grew up on a farm. And when we would go grocery shopping together, when we were living together, she would actually get angry with me because I was going and getting, let's say, blueberries in the middle of January. And she's like, "What are you doing? These are not like in season. They ripened on a truck. There is no nutritious value in those at all because all the nutrients that the plant would have delivered to those aren't happening in January in the northern latitude where we were living." At the time, I understood what she was saying, but I think because we have been, or I rather, had been brought up in a space where you just got what you wanted from the grocery store when you felt like it. And I didn't really put any mind or matter towards where I was in time and space and where I was in the season. But then there's that question of, yeah, but what if I wanted to eat something like that? So some people would encourage you to get frozen foods because they're harvesting those vegetables and fruits at the right time of season and then flash freezing them. So those nutrient or the nutrient density rather is more available with those choices. But again, if we're honoring a real local and seasonal diet, we wouldn't be kind of opting towards fruits or vegetables that are only available at particular times of the year where you live. So just a couple options there without getting too dogmatic about it. So paying attention to where you live is going to dictate in the season that you're in how much sunlight you're actually uh, getting exposed to, or those fruits and vegetables that are growing around you and what is available is going to really guide you as far as selection. So I don't like to get really caught up on diet because there is a lot of dogma around what to eat. There's so many different diets out there. And trust me, I have tried almost all of them in my own health journey. And what I have found to been the most supportive is this local seasonal diet. Your microbiome. So there's a lot of buzz around that out in the kind of modern day society now. Everybody's talking about gut health. So our microbes, these little bugs in our gut, are meant to change depending on what season we are in and what foods we are actually inputting into our digestion. So those should be changing based on the seasons, and that gives us a very robust and supportive broadband, if you want to think of it, microbiome. So that there's diversity in there. When we have a diversity of gut microbes, it helps support a healthy immune system and overall health. So those types of things are important to consider. If we want to get even a little bit more sciencey about it, and I try to keep that space a little bit clear in this realm so it's more approachable for everybody to understand, but our mitochondria, so our little energy kind of control centers in our cells, they're receiving information from the diet that you're taking in and where you are in time and space. So to take an easy example, if I'm living in, let's say, Northern Canada, and it's the middle of January and I'm eating a banana, that's very confusing to my mitochondria because bananas grow in the tropics where it's very hot in the middle of summer, and that is not happening in January in Northern Canada. So it's confusing to the body and it doesn't know how to process that. So maybe we get more inflammation. Maybe it leads to more dehydration at a cellular level, which is a cascade of a whole other course of events. So again, if you support the kind of plug-in systems to where you are in time and space from a food perspective, that's going to support your overall health because your body is receiving those signals. So this is going to look different for everybody, and everybody and others as well may also follow different diets for different ethical, moral reasons. And I ask you to just get curious and explore more about that. So as I've shared before in this space, I was vegan for well over a decade. My family was as well. It was not supportive to my health. So I had to make some shifts. Now I noticed when moving to a local seasonal diet, especially where I live, I think we're in about the 40 something latitude. I can't think of that right off the top of my head, but the only thing that is available during the winter months, because nothing is growing, would be root stable vegetables that were gathered during the fall and are kind of stable, shelf stable. They're not rotting, and meats and eggs and fish and things like that, that we would have been able to catch if we were living amongst nature and not just surviving in this state of being able to get whatever we wanted from the grocery store. So by increasing those kind of meats and root cellar stable vegetables during the winter, that's supporting my mitochondria as far as where I am in time and space. It's supporting my gut microbes by knowing, okay, Kate is in winter. This is what she's putting into my body, and it helps support the energy that my body needs through the winter. This will shift and change as well as we come into spring season and more kind of green and bitter vegetables start to make their appearance. That's what my body needs in order to shift and know that it's transitioning into a different season. I'm going to put a link down in the show notes. Dr. John Douillard is an Ayurvedic practitioner out of Colorado, and he has a beautiful article about the seasonal diet. He's got a bunch of studies as well tied in there. So science-backed, but also for those who kind of want to go a little bit deeper and understand the mechanics of this seasonal diet, I will point you in that direction and you can look into that. So this local seasonal piece is also very important when we're talking about circadian biology. So as you know, if you've been here for a while, or if you're brand new to this space, I blend yoga, Ayurveda, and circadian biology when we're approaching overall health. These facets to me are kind of the foundational pillars in order for overall wellness. So again, if we're looking at things from this circadian biological lens, we're paying attention to the light and dark cycles of what's happening outside. So I'm following my day or the times that I'm choosing to eat based on what's happening with the sun outside. So like in Ayurveda, we're following the rhythms of the sun. The same thing goes for when we are eating. So if there is less light in the winter where you live, that means that we're kind of fasting longer, and the body needs this at that time, because if we're thinking about it from that connected to nature piece, winter is a time for more rest and repair. So then shifting over to summer, when there is more daylight and there is more harvest available with all these fruits and vegetables, we are kind of intaking and staying awake longer. There's more sunlight. So our body has more capacity to process all of these available choices for us from a dietary perspective, and there's more sunlight. So we're aiming to eat when the sun is out. So from daybreak, or not daybreak, rather, from sunrise. Daybreak and sunrise is very different. From sunrise, after I've kind of done my morning practices as far as watching the sunrise, getting the light into my eyes, then I'm coming in and having my first meal of the day. So that is very close to when sunrise is. And again, that changes depending on where we are in the season. And then shifting through the day, my last meal of the day will be before the sun sets for the evening. And now, when we get into summer, just to kind of put that little disclaimer in there, the sun sometimes goes down past 9 o'clock. I'm not eating my dinner close to that time. From a digestive perspective, we want to make sure that we're honoring this kind of gap between the last meal of the day and when you go down for night, from a 3 to 4 hour window. That's just from a digestive perspective, because we never want to be going to bed when things are kind of heavy in our gut and we're allowing the body to come into its repair process versus being busy breaking down foods and assimilating nutrients in the body. So you kind of have to adjust that for yourself in months that have more daylight. Now, if you live in a place in the world where there's more darkness or more light, just depending on where you're at, then I would suggest to you that you fall into a nice rhythm where you're kind of eating between a window and you kind of stick to that. Because if you're living in a place that isn't shifting through various seasons, it's okay to kind of honor this routine, so to speak, as far as when you're choosing to eat and when you're choosing to kind of close the kitchen, so to speak. But if you are in a world or in a world, we're all in a world, if you're in a place in the world where you are experiencing different seasons, then we want to be able to shift and ebb and flow with that seasonal diet. So our microbiome is kind of following along for the ride. So that's it for me. If you have any questions about how to implement a seasonal diet, I'd love to hear from you. You can always book a free discovery call with me and just kind of see what your goals are, or even if you need a little bit of support as far as how to implement this based on where you live, I would be happy to discuss and we can look at some options for you. Alternatively, be sure to check out that article. I'll link in the show notes down below. And you can get kind of your head wrapped around what this seasonal diet looks like, because I assure you, it takes a little bit of practice to reframe the mind, because we have all these modern conveniences of grocery stores kind of 24/7. If we want pineapple in the middle of February and you live in a place where there's snow and nothing's growing, we can still have it. So there is this shifting of mentality over bringing in foods that are local and seasonal to me in order to support my body to the best of its ability. So that's it for me this time. Be sure to like and subscribe the video at the end so you can, or YouTube rather, can get this video out to more people and they can follow along and come to better health. So we'll see you next time.